like we were talking about today, when I get bored, I just start making up problems. Okay, maybe there is something to be done, but also know that this is your tendency, that when you get bored, you start to do this.
What do I think about that? Why do I have that be a stress? Is that something that I even need to be stressing about anymore? Or is that just like a story that I keep playing in my head of that's something that I do or think about or stress?
You ready for this?
No, I messed with the chord. Is that supposed to be on?
Yeah.
I feel like lately I've said in our relationship, I'm just going to start calling you a different name, and then I never stick to it. And then every time I reintroduce it, I'm like, that was so fun. I got to keep doing that. And then I never do it.
Yeah,
so for the 15th time, I'm going to start calling you different names.
I do the same thing, though. What's your new one? Let me hum something to you. Let me hum a few bars.
Let me hum a few bars. So test this out. See if you like it for size. If you're in a conversation with somebody and they're like, did I already tell you the story? Instead of going like, I don't know. Or obviously, like, how do we know? Because I don't know what you're going to tell me. So just say, hum a few bars, and I'll let you know. They'll just give you like little bullet points of the story, which is honestly a great way to test that anyways. It's just a fun way to ask the question versus like, give me some bullet points and then I'll see. It's like, hum a few bars. Perfect.
Hilarious. You got anything to talk about?
I have a question for you. So,
you know what I don't like? When people say, I have an answer. Maybe you don't. Maybe you fucking don't.
You know what I say on the work weekends? Because I say that all the time. Because people will always come up to me and phrase it like that. I have a question for you. And I say, I might have an answer.
Stop.
Okay.
Hey. Stop.
What should I say instead?
Okay.
Hum a few bars.
Yeah. Hum a few bars. Yeah. I'd rather you say that than...
Hit me with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't go, I have an answer.
No, I don't.
You arrogant.
I don't say I have an answer. I say I might have an answer for you.
I'm going to start saying that. If somebody says that to me, I have an answer. I'm going to go, you arrogant son of a bitch.
Or just ask them something that's so inappropriate that they're like, I'm not answering that. Never mind.
Yeah.
Do you have an answer?
Yeah. How big is your butthole?
It's like when on Lifeline, when Chris was talking about how Cal was always like, are you ready for this, Dad? Are you ready?
Are you ready?
And you should turn it back. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Because it is. Kids always are like, they're like, wow, you're actually going to watch me? Okay, now I got to come up with something.
Yeah. And then they just like jump or something. What's your question?
Okay, so a common theme with both of us is we are very high highs, very low lows when it comes to maybe our emotional, not only say our emotional response to things, because that's too blank, but like we'll get really hyper focused on something, or we'll get stressed about something quickly, or we'll get like really excited about something, and we're very like take initiative with it, like we're quick to take action on that. But then we also can flip-flop our emotions about the same topic pretty quickly. It's almost like we're running through our process fast. Do you think that would be a negative quality or something that we should fix before we, like, not before, but do you think that's a quality that we should work on for us for being parents?
Oh, yeah. I mean...
Or is that a good quality about us?
Well, I think the taking initiative to change things or try to make things better is good, but I think the flip-flopping isn't good.
And I have my opinions, but I want to hear yours first. Why do you think?
Well, I just think it is chaotic, and it's too changing emotions too quickly, and it's up and down, left and right, and it's hard to manage. It's hard to deal with. And then now it's like, okay, you're a parent and you're trying to, I don't know, just like day-to-day life, and something comes up and you're like, I want to do this. Oh, maybe, no, now we're going to switch it over here. And then, oh, actually, we're going to do that. Like, kids like and want structure and consistency and like follow through, that if you're not displaying those things or have those things I think that's going to cause more of an issue than not. Like, you're going to have a kid that always wants to know what's going on. They are always going to, like, they're not going to trust what you say initially, probably. So it's like, hey,
like, this is going to change in 2
can we
minutes.
get ice cream? And you're like, yeah. And they're going to be like, well, we'll see. Like,
Sure.
the kid's going to start doing that because they're like, well, they've said that before, and we all of a sudden things change and we don't get it. And it's just because the parent is flip-flopping their brain.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's such a good thing. I think the part that is good is the actually taking action and doing something. You know, it's like if we were talking about this the other day of just, we're both, if we have our mind set on the thing, like, we're going to go do it now. It's just what it gets set on maybe flips back and forth 10 times. And that is where it needs to get fixed. But once it's like, okay, this is what we're doing and we're going to do it, we go for it. So that part's good. But I think it's how we're getting there could be better.
Yeah. I think in the last how many years, like, we're figuring out how to be adults a little bit, that it's, I think for me personally, where the confusion has come in is like, well, I know what I think about this, but should I be choosing a different decision? Like, is this like the kid version of me thinking about this? Is this like my emotional part thinking of this? Is this like, well, I don't like it, but this is the responsible approach? That I think as we're kind of getting a little bit older, I think that stuff should hopefully start happening less, to where we are more confident in our decisions, and we also have enough data to back up, like, well, remember the last 5 times this happened, this is typically how we ended up feeling about it, so we don't have to like do this guessing game all the time. But I liked it from the same standpoint that you're talking about, of even if it's a negative or something that we're not pleased with, I think our approach typically is we want to take action or figure it out or find a way that to make it not feel bad for us. But yeah, the flip-flopping, that was my thought on it too, was like, oh, that just seems like really inconsistent, and like I couldn't imagine kids feel safe with that.
This weirdly makes me think of like what I was told all through sports. If you're going to make a mistake, like, make it fast. Like, don't hesitate. So I think that's something for me to try to think back a little bit more on and try to apply more, is like, try not to spend so much time thinking about the answer or the right way to go about it or whatever. And even if it's the wrong decision, like, make it fast, because there's still a chance it might work.
Interesting. We were always told in dance, like, if you're gonna mess up big.
Yeah, same kind of concept.
Okay.
Yeah, like, yeah, kind of like if it's gonna be a mistake, like, it better
Commit to the mistake. Kind of.
Commit to it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think, like, I don't know. I think we do a fairly good job of that. Like, we don't really go into anything tentatively and like dipping our toe in the water and seeing how things work. It's like, we've made the decision, now we're going full bore at it. But I think even that time beforehand, it's like, stop hesitating so much on what it is. It's like, try to shorten that time of thinking so much about it and then just really go for it. Because I think how long I feel like when you are getting older and older, like, decisions seem to come slower. Like, you just ruminate on things for longer and longer and longer. That when you're a kid, you just, like, I don't know, maybe there's just no fear, or there's no whatever, but you just kind of do and take whatever. I think you start to get in your head as you get older about, like, you're running out of time, can't make as many mistakes because I'm older and I should know better. And like, I also don't want to make more mistakes because then my career could depend on that, or maybe the person I'm with, that might do something and ruin something or whatever. You start to get more afraid, I think, because you have more experiences of things going wrong. But now you just get in this kind of crippling situation where you don't do anything because you're afraid that it might mess up, even though it might be a great idea. So it's like, just commit and go fast. Like, make it fast, make the decision fast, because at least the burnout's going to be fast then too. Like, you dipping your toe in the water, you're not wasting all this time to get into the thing to realize it sucks. And then you slowly get out of it too. It's like you get into it fast, you get out of it fast.
So would you say that could be your approach of getting better at this?
I think it's something to consider. I don't think it's the full picture. Because, I mean, we were talking about the other day, too. It's like, you don't know until you know. Like, until you do it. So, you can sit here and think about it and ruminate and not do anything. Or just, like, do it and see. So, I think it's part of the equation to think about of like, okay, am I taking just too long and this isn't helpful anymore? But I think somewhat what we talked about today even was you have to try to get out of your brain. Like you have like I think it's hard to speak on because it's so fresh in my head.
Sure.
That it's like, I don't know how to put words to it quite yet. But there's too much of like, what are your feelings and emotions about it? And you need to get out of that.
Almost
set
like
them aside.
Recognizing maybe where you're manipulating yourself.
Yeah, or like where your biases lie.
Yeah.
Where certain tendencies go to, you know, like we were talking about today. When I get bored, I just start making up problems and trying to like, and it's always the vehicles. I always have to, I'm bored, so now something with the vehicles. We got to do something with these. It's like, okay, maybe there is something to be done, but also know that this is your tendency that when you get bored, you start to do this. So how do you make it productive? And then piecing that together with make a decision and then do it fast and get it done with. Mm-hmm. Because, again, like we were talking about, if you're bored, like, let's do something productive. Not something that you've always go back to and is always going to be a problem and you can always make an issue. It's like, I can always make the vehicle thing an issue. We've had old used cars, we've had brand new cars, and there's always the same problems that I can come up with both of them. And you can always try to figure out a solution to them, to where it's like, is this actually a problem and does something actually need to be done? Or are you just bored and don't know where to put your time and effort? Towards like, that's where like having a list of things that you want to accomplish or be productive on would be helpful. So it's like, okay, now I'm recognizing I'm bored because I'm going to this tendency. What can I do to be productive? Okay, maybe it's exercise more, get more exercise in. Maybe it's like trying to meditate more. Maybe it's trying to read more. Maybe it's trying to educate myself more by watching certain podcasts or looking up certain articles or something like that. Whatever it is, put more time into the podcast stuff. It's like, what things do you want to be more productive to where when you have no time, you're like, I wish I had more time to do this thing. It's like, well, now is the time to do it because you're bored and you're thinking about stupid shit that doesn't matter. And you're trying to solve problems that don't matter. It's like figuring out what is going to push you forward with those productive things, and now go to that instead of the same old issue that you can never solve because you just always make it a problem.
Yeah, I think for some of the things with me where it gets tricky, because I like to go back to the data of the problem at hand, because I know I tend to lean more into my emotions. I think when it's some things like what we've been talking about recently where it's like, okay, well, we don't know the data yet. We don't know what the correct decision is. There's not like a black and white this is the smart one, this is the emotional one, so choose correctly. You do kind of have to make a judgment call, but I think that was going to be my approach moving forward to work on it was, where's my bias here? Am I just proving myself, like, am I just coming up with points to prove myself right? Or am I challenging my own thoughts and my own opinions, saying that I'm wrong? And let's just test that side of it. Because I think I'm so on the, like, with this, like, I can really commit to either side of my thoughts very fast and, like, come up with a whole list. Like, I'll debate with myself why I'm right. That allowing myself to see both sides and kind of do a pros and cons of both. And I think for me, I'm a very feel it, take action. So allowing myself time to sit with it. Like, another thing that we've been talking about is like, okay, we feel this way, but like, we haven't given ourselves enough time to like look at all the options. Like, what's the outcome of this? What's the consequence of this? How would this play out? Like, most big decisions probably need time to look at the angles for you to sit on it, to allow for more things like, oh, I didn't think about it that, or I forgot about that, and allowing that time for those things to come up, and then you to be able to add that to your pros or cons. That's what I'm going to start doing to get better at it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things like I don't necessarily know how to word it, I feel like, because we have just been talking about it more. It's like I kind of know in my head how I feel about it and the actions to take, but I haven't talked it through that much. I think something that's helping me a lot with a lot of different things is that idea of like kind of like what they say of just like stop and take a breath. And it's like, yes, that, and get out of your head and like try to analyze yourself like you're somebody else.
Yeah.
Like trying not to be so inside of yourself all the time. It's like get out of your head and look at you like you're somebody else, and now start to like pick apart what's going on. Because I don't know, maybe it's just because we do it, but I feel like everybody does it, of like, whether it's judgmental or not, but just you're trying to understand what people are thinking and saying and why they do why did you do this and not that, or why did you approach it this way and say these things, or why is this the direction you feel like you need to go, towards like doing that to yourself, analyzing yourself like you're somebody else, because we're so in our head all the time that, and we have our own biases and we have our own ways of manipulating ourselves, that we just get so stuck in that and sit in that, and we don't even know that this thing is happening. It's like, I have complained about this vehicle thing for 10 years, and we've had multiple different vehicles. It's taken me till now to go like, oh, this is just what you do when you're bored. And like, this is the type of damage you do when you're bored. You make like giant vehicle decisions that just like, not that they cause more stress, but they don't cause a solution. Like, they just continue to be the same. And it's because it's like, there's not a solution really. Like, you're going to be unhappy with any situation that it is. So it took me to like, okay, get out of your head for a second, because I was trying to think like, why are you so obsessed with these vehicles? Like, what is going on in your head that is making you so obsessed with it? Are you afraid like it's going to break down? Are you afraid that this is going to cost too much money? Are you like, is it a financial thing? Is it a safety thing? Is it like an ego thing of like, I want a cool car? Is it a ego thing of like, I want to be the guy that doesn't have a cool car? It's like, what is it? Like, what is going on? And I couldn't answer any of those. It's like, it's none of these. And I'm like, you're fucking bored.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You're just bored. So recognizing you're bored, but it took me to just like look at myself like I'm somebody else. Like, why do you keep doing this? Like, this is the same issue it's been for the last 5 years. Why? And it's like, oh, duh. So just try to approach most problems like that. Like what, especially with the flipping flopping. Why do you keep flipping flopping? Like
Yeah.
why do you keep going back and forth, back and forth? It's like, oh, work slowed down. You have too much time on your hands.
Work slowed down for 5 days.
And you don't know what to do. Like you've been ramped up for how many months?
Mm-hmm.
And now everything's slowed down and you are still ramped. You're bored. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you're bored. What's going to be productive? You thinking and fucking with these cars some more, or other stupid issues that aren't even issues? Or let's take this time to be productive. It's like, oh, okay, let's do that one because I'm going to feel a lot better about that. And it's like, hey, I figured out that this vehicle thing is just me being bored. There's no problem. There's no issue. It's just I'm bored. So now I can just go, hey, the vehicle thing's not an issue. And now it gets brought up in my head again. I can go, oh, you're bored. It's like that, that flag that comes up now. I planted the flag in that. When I think about the vehicle, it's like, hey, you're bored. Find something better to do.
Yep. That's how I notice, like, when I get irritated or antsy, it's just like I either maybe had too much caffeine, but it's like it's probably because I'm overstimulating my brain and I'm just continuing to push it, or I'm not having enough exercise. So it's like I know this feeling now.
Yeah.
It's not, oh, it's just crazy that I'm just like getting agitated again. It's like, well, it's happening at the same times with the same areas or your same times of the day or whatever. It's like, well, you know the solution. It's not, well, I must need to have more coffee because I'm not zoned in enough because I'm getting antsier. I need to do something else because I'm getting whatever. It's like, no, you just need to stand up. You just need to walk away from the computer and you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
But I could like ruminate on all of these things like, well, it was this email that bothered me and now I need to take care of that person and make sure that our relationship is better because every time I answer their email, I get pissed. It's like, or do you just always answer their email when you have already been working for 4 hours and you're done?
Yeah.
And you just need to stand up and walk away from the computer for a second.
That's something that just like talking to yourself like you're somebody else. And almost like treating yourself like you're somebody else. That's one of Jordan Peterson's rules too, is the treat others or treat yourself like you would treat somebody else, like somebody you're taking care of. And I think that just like having that sort of idea in your head a lot where it's like, okay, I'm not inside myself anymore. I'm going to act like I am somebody else. And kind of like, how would I pick them apart? How would I judge them? What would be good things, bad things, or even in this situation, like kind of like you with the email thing. It's like, okay, why am I doing this? Like, why is this email bugging me so much? Just being able to stop for a second and ask that or talk to yourself about it. I think people just get so in the going of it, they don't even recognize it. And then it's like, oh, this person just always pisses me off and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, but did you analyze you at all?
Right.
Like, did you just simply stop and go, okay, this is weird. What's going on?
Well, it's silly, but it's like, it's not like this random mystery to why we can understand others so easily. It's like,
yeah,
it's because we observe. It's because we take time to analyze their actions, take time to analyze their words. Like some people, me, I'll sit and think about, why did they say that? I wonder what that means. I wonder where that came from. I wonder why they had that tone with it. Like, I wonder what that stems from, or what are they trying to get out of this? It's like, would I ever do that with myself? It's like, why did you choose to say it that way? Why were those your choice of words? Why did you say it to that person? Like, what was your goal with that? What was your agenda? What were you trying to manipulate? What were you trying to get out of that? It's like, it's not some magic thing that we can just see it in others, but we can't see it in ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, because we actually detach from them. We detach from the emotions because we don't have their emotions. So we can just see the stats of them. It's like, well, we can do that to ourselves if we just detach.
And we have so much practice of doing it to other people, but we have no practice of it doing it to ourselves.
Yeah.
Because, like, we know what we're thinking. We know how we feel. So we don't really ever ask, like, why? Why are you thinking those things? Why are you feeling those ways? And also, like, does it make sense to be thinking that or feeling that? It's like we play that, like, storytelling game of why this person said it that way or did something, and we create this whole story of them to get to that point and why they said it and what might have been going on or what maybe happened or why they felt that way at that moment that they said that, whatever. But we don't ever do that to ourselves. Like, we just kind of react and then continue to go on.
Yeah.
Or we'll sit there and be like, God, this email is just pissing me off, blah, blah, blah. Or I just can't figure out these cars. I got to do something about these cars, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, stop and figure out why this continues to come up and is always a problem.
Well, and I think that has helped me a lot when I am able to like register those things, because then when they happen frequently, or not even frequently, but when a similar situation happens, I can already go with myself of like, this is going to bring this up. Like, if I get an email of one of the bosses correcting me on something, I don't take correction well. I don't take feedback well. I don't like feedback. I want to be good off of the jump and you be more impressed with how I'm doing than you needing to correct me. So if I get a correction, I'm not going to take it with like, wow, they really care about me. They want me to improve. What we tell students, like, if we care about you, we're going to give you corrections. I don't take that at all.
I wonder what that is, because I feel like if I'm not getting corrected, like, they just aren't paying attention to me.
I want to be...
Like, I don't like when I'm left alone and, like, nothing's being said. I definitely don't like getting praised.
I do.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I want the only attention to be, wow, you're doing so great.
Yeah, I don't want that at all.
Oh, yeah, I mean, our experience growing up with sports and everything was so different.
Like, the correction thing's interesting to me because I think I've noticed that more so recently. Is like, I want to know what's going on and, like, what I'm doing wrong to fix it. Like, I don't want to be doing things wrong.
I don't either. But I want to recognize it myself and fix it, not you have to tell me.
Yeah, and it's like, well, how? You're not gonna know everything. How
and
do you
that's
know?
why I'm like, I've gotten better with that, with the like emotional maturity with that, because I didn't have it before. Because my brain would be like, well, but why don't you know it? You should know everything. It's like, well, some of these are also opinions, and it's like, I don't know their opinion on how they want this to go.
Your brain is a crazy person.
But it is like, I want to know the solution before you have to give me the problem. Like, I want to just know how to handle everything and do it to the utmost level that you're so shocked with how I handle everything all the time. That's what I want to be.
Is it just because you want the praise?
I don't even know if I want the praise or I so badly don't want the corrections.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where I'm not great at that, but I'm definitely getting better. I'm seeing it as it's what we tell every kid. Just because you're getting this doesn't mean that you're a bad person, doesn't mean that you're stupid, doesn't mean that you can't do this job correctly. And also, I'm letting go, like, maybe I'm just not the best person for every job either.
Duh.
But hello, 26, just realizing that. Like, I'm getting better at, okay, this is just an opportunity for me to grow and to learn more. And it's also more so an opportunity for me to take feedback. So now that I recognize, okay, I get really upset and maybe defensive when I'm getting corrected. When this happens again, don't get defensive. Just listen. Take it in. Try to understand where they're coming from and own it. And go, I'm sorry that I messed that up. Like, I'm getting more comfortable with apologizing and recognizing that I messed up and not just like spiraling.
Well, I think
so not every time that comes up, I can go, you typically do that, so let's not.
I think that's a good rule of thumb. Like, anytime feedback or correction is happening, is like, really anytime it's a negative towards you. So it's like, just to take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
Because I think it does something to your ego or whatever you have left of one that's like you're not better than everybody and you don't know everything, and like even you can get corrected and it's okay. But I also think even if it wasn't you, it wasn't your fault, it had nothing to do with you, and you're the one that's getting corrected about something, and you're able to like take responsibility in that moment, that is going to show so much more respect than probably anything else. That if something that you didn't even do and you're taking ownership for, like the person that's giving you that correction is really going to respect that. Instead of you blaming somebody else or throwing somebody else under the bus or like saying that wasn't me or like not able to take the criticism. It's like, this is already an uncomfortable situation. Nobody likes having these conversations. If they do, they're probably crazy, or they've just had so many of them that it's like just
Doesn't
another
phase
day.
them, yeah.
But most of the time people don't like having these conversations, and now you're going to make it worse for this other person by like snapping back at them or not taking responsibility. It's like, do you want an employee like that, or do you want to work with somebody like that, or do you want to be in a relationship with somebody like that, that if you were getting corrected, like, or with you getting corrected, they're just not taking responsibility and snapping back? Like, what if the roles were reversed? Do you want that same thing? So it's like, I think the amount of respect that you gain by taking that accountability right away, I think that's important. And I think it also does something for you too, to be able to be like, just like, okay, I'll take the responsibility, and like I'm gonna try to do better. It's like, it hurts.
Yeah.
It's a hit to the pride or whatever thing you have wrapped around, you know, oh, I pride myself on having good work ethic or like being really smart or whatever the correction might be. And now you're getting criticized from it. It's like, ugh, that hurts.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it shows how big of a person you are by not crumbling from that. And it's just having that rule of thumb of like, I'm getting corrected, I'm taking responsibility. Doesn't matter if it was even me.
Yeah.
I'm going to take responsibility. Maybe it was somebody else, but I'm going to take responsibility and then go relay that to them of like, hey, they just talked to me and corrected me on this. I just want you to know so you don't get corrected as well. It's like, that is so much more positive and so much more beneficial than you being like, it wasn't even me, it was fucking Rebecca and blah, 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 blah. And she always does that shit. And it's like, you suck. You suck if you're doing that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to work with that person. Nobody wants to be with that person. Nobody wants to be around that person.
Yeah. Well, and that's hard for me, but I'm trying to get better at that in work scenarios of kind of just like taking the extreme ownership approach of like, okay, they didn't do that, but technically I am higher up than them. So it's my responsibility that they need to know that. Or it's my responsibility to take the hit on that. Or like if they felt comfortable to not follow the rules or do something else, it's because I'm presenting myself like that as a leader that they feel like they're not being held accountable to anything. It's like, again, just like always bringing it back to me.
Well, and I think
like if something under that is happening, it's like, this is my umbrella. Everything under my umbrella needs to go a certain way. I'm either not giving I'm either not explaining it in a way that's translating to them, or I'm showing myself in a way that doesn't provide clarity that some alternate thing is happening.
Yeah, and I think there's just so much more positive in that, and I don't know, you being, again, it's like the respect thing, you being respected, people liking to work with you because you're not blaming other people, you're taking responsibility for things. I don't know, you're carrying yourself in a positive way and not.
Well, because it
the
does.
Integrity thing, like having integrity, like that's just so much. That's so much better than being the person that blames everybody else, or like can't take criticism and like crumbles because they got corrected once. Like that's something I've realized with teaching the classes too. Is there's so many things nowadays that it seems like is brought up to be so bad, when in reality it's like, this is a problem that you can't take criticism. Like,
For me, yeah.
you're in the work environment. Like, this is what grown-ups deal with. And it sucks, but it sucked at the time. I was like, I'm so fortunate. I grew up in a culture or like sports world which has probably even changed now, but like, we would watch film and you'd be with all of your friends and getting called out
Yeah.
for some dumb shit you did, or like you're getting circled on the board like, number 16, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And that's like, oh, there's 40 people in here and I'm getting called out in front of everybody. And having to take that criticism in front of everybody. Like, public denouncing.
Yes.
That has helped me so much
Mm-hmm.
outside of this now, where it's like, hey, actually, we want to do it this way because of this reason, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, cool. To where some people are like, they said something mean about me. It's like, what? They just told you they wanted it done a certain way, and you weren't doing it right. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like, so teaching these classes, I'll catch myself of like, maybe I shouldn't call them. I'm like, no, I should call them out. This is what's going to happen to them when they're older. And if they can't handle this now, like, this is where they're learning these things.
Yeah.
And that it's okay to be called out. It's okay to be corrected and shown you're doing something wrong and going forward. And then making sure on top of that, when they do it right, you're praising them for doing it right. Because these are children, so they need that, like,
Boost too.
the boost and the reaffirming, like, I'm not doing this to be mean. I'm doing this to help you. So
Yeah.
here's also the positive feedback afterwards. But that's...
I still need that.
Huh?
I feel like I still need that. But I do. Like, I do still get the
No, you
positive.
don't. You're old enough.
I get 99% praise.
Yeah.
I get not even 1%. It's like, it's happened once ever. Like, just holding on to it.
And you're holding on to that one time.
But no, I'm trying to, like, okay, take those notes, take those corrections. It's hard for me to take corrections when I don't necessarily understand. So that's something I'm still learning, because I'm like, okay, but I don't know. It's hard for me to take feedback if I don't know how to replicate it. I also noticed that. So, like, I'm needing to ask more questions, and then sometimes I get frustrated if I still am not getting clear answers, because, like, well, you're just gonna have to correct me every time because I don't know what the plan is, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, like, if it's a business that they want to run it in a specific way, it's like, okay, well, you're dealing, like, that is your business, that's your clients. If you want me to answer emails in a specific way or whatever, like, that is, I am representing you in your business. And that's something I've gotten better at, is like, I don't need to agree. This is not my thing. This is not my business. You can
Right.
run it however you want. I'm just someone to implement what you want. But I do need to get better with just people in general, not even just work situations, where if I don't agree, if they need something particular from me, to continue to ask questions to get clarity, because it's kind of like I don't do a lot of things. I mean, yes, I do. I'm not saying like I'm so aware all the time, but I do a lot of things pretty intentional, that if I do something and it's wrong, I'm like, well, that was like all the ways I thought of how it should have gone. So, like, I don't see your way at all, and I'm needing a lot of explanation, because what I did, I thought was like in favor of you, or what you would want.
Yeah. I don't remember who said it. I want to say... Yeah, I don't remember who said it. But it was somebody that I was listening to that, like me, had anger issues and didn't realize it was really a problem until later on. And somebody just said to them, like, you do realize, like, that that's like a weakness. Like that's not power or strength, or like you getting angry and blowing up is weak.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel that same way just about not being able to be in control of your emotions. It's like, this is just a weakness. Like if you're not able to take the criticism or any other example, like somebody says something that maybe you don't like and you have a bad reaction to it, if you're not able to compose yourself and control your emotions to not snap or blow up or like get offended and get all sad and mopey and weird and whatever, that's just a weakness that you have. Like you should be able to think and talk your way into that not being such an effect, especially with like the snapping and the blowing up. Like that was something that I just have had such a hard time with. It's like I just am so not in control of this.
Yeah.
And it's just so weak. It's like, really? Somebody made you mad or didn't even make you mad? Like you're just pissy and now you're going to blow up because somebody said something or did something that was like kind of not a big deal at all? And you're going to, like, that is so weak. It's so weak. And I think like everybody's a little bit embarrassed or a lot embarrassed when they're getting corrected. But it's like it's true weakness when you try to get that correction off of you. You know, it's like the words are coming and you're doing whatever you can to get out of it. Where it's like, oh, it's this person's fault, or well, I was doing it for this reason, and I thought or I was told to do it this way, and blah, and you're just like trying to get it away from you. It's like that's just so weak. Like you have to just take it.
Yeah.
Take it all and act like it's not. Maybe not even act, but just try to tell yourself that this is not something to be so crazily affected over, because what is that going to help anyways? Like you being all out of whack and out of sorts and now trying to find a solution. It's like that's not how you find good solutions. It's how you find shitty ones. It's like you need to stay composed and take that on and then act from there. I'm seeing that more and more. I think I do a fairly good job of like playing the part I need to play in certain situations. I'm still working on that, of like trying to hide I don't know what it is, like this just like passer look or something where it's just like, oh, he is not having this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think especially in work situations, I think working customer service jobs right away, I've gotten good at being able to do that. Like, this is the tone of voice you have to have, and this is the look on your face you have to have, and the posture, and the wanting to help and whatever. Or when you're getting like correction. I mean, even that, like we would get corrected on how we were taking the correction in football.
Yeah.
In sports.
Yeah.
So it's like you're getting corrected and it's like, what are you moping about? Like we got stuff to do. Stand up, take the correction and let's go. Let's move on. Like we need to know that we can trust you to take this and move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
If you're going to sit here and mope and be sad, or you're going to start blaming other people, like that's not the type of thing we want here.
Right.
So get out. It's like you were corrected on how you were taking correction. So it's like even that, it's like, okay, I'm getting correction. I'm like attentive. I'm looking at you. I'm nodding. Okay, yep. I'm showing I understand. Like everything is like almost like soldier-like, where it's like, yes, okay, got it, cool. And then you go and whatever. And it's like you maybe talk about it with your buddies afterwards or whatever, but there's a like, I don't know. There's just so much of that, like what they always say of communication is mostly nonverbal. I feel like that is just so. Maybe kids are really bad at it, which I'm sure they are. But I see it so much with kids, and I'm like, do you realize how you're coming off? like
Oh, yeah.
this,
Yeah.
like, your nonverbal is so annoying to me.
Yeah.
Like, stand up, look at me, face forward, like
Yeah.
it's so I
But that needs to be taught. I don't know why
Right.
they're I
Right.
don't know why they're bad at it.
But then you come across adults that are doing that too, and you're like,
Well, yes.
Like-
But kids, like, I don't think they're doing it to be mean. And that's how I bring it up is like, are you trying to show me that you don't care? Because how you're sitting on the floor, how you're like, there was a girl yesterday that was like flipping her hair like upside down. Like, are you trying to be a distraction? Are you trying to show me that you don't care? Are you trying to be like take the center of attention in the class? Because your actions, that's how it's translating. Or like you doing this when someone else is talking or one of your friends is talking. It's like you're showing that person that you don't care what they're saying and that you're actually judging them on everything that they're saying. Are you trying to do that?
yeah,
Because also if you are, wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow. That's a choice. That's what I'm trying to do better with the corrections is taking it as a, okay, something I can implement. Like something I can fix. I'm doing the, got it. Like we don't need to talk about it. You don't need to bring it up again. We don't need to have a long discussion of why I did it and why you're telling me this and da-da-da. It's like, okay, done. Moving on. I'll do it. I'll implement it right away. We'll fix it. Just being able to like be that soldier of replicate what they want. I think it hurts my ego because I'm like, I put in so much effort to pay attention to people. That's like, man, really? Like I couldn't pick up on what you wanted from the jump. But
That's
yeah,
just
99% of the time I can do that.
right. I think that's just unrealistic expectations. It's like you're
Yeah.
not going to be able to do that 100% of the time.
Yeah.
I think the other good thing we talked about was that stress conversation. That seemed to like, which was kind of in line with like the vehicle thing too for me, or just that conversation of like, we talk about like, you always hear manage stress, like make sure you don't have a lot of stress or like try to get the stress out of your life. And we were just both kind of like, what does that even mean?
The
like,
only solution you get is like meditate,
yeah,
take a
like,
deep breath.
breathe, meditate. That's how you get rid of stress. It's like, I just don't, we're always told get rid of it, but nobody knows how to really do that. Nobody has solutions on how to do that. And it was something, I don't know, it was something that we were talking about with it. And I think it was the vehicle stuff was just like, this is a stress in my life. This is a unique situation where it's like, I'm just creating a problem. But even if there's a problem that's always there, that is your stress. And that's what's like, your mind is always going to that and always trying to figure out that problem and find a solution to it. And how do you take that and like not have it stress you anymore, or even just complete that and get it gone? Because you even brought up too, like there's things a couple years ago that I just was so fixated on and I couldn't stop thinking about, and now it's like I haven't thought about it in 2 years.
Yeah.
It just like naturally went away, but it was something that was on your mind all the time. So it's like, how do you grab a hold of stress and manage it like everybody's telling you to do? Like, manage stress, you got to manage it. Like, stress is related to cancer and this and that and all of your health issues. It can be related to your bloating and like why your knee hurts or whatever. Like, stress is literally the cause of everything now, but nobody knows how to fucking get rid of stress. And the only advice is like, well, meditate. It's like, not everybody can meditate. Not everybody wants to meditate.
And not everybody, like, that doesn't help.
Right. Or
Like
it doesn't do
some
anything.
people, that's just like not their.
And I think some people go like, well, I work out to manage my stress. It's like, really? Like, I just don't think that's, I think that makes you feel better for the day, but I don't think that's like getting rid of the things that are stressing you in your life. because those problems are still there. It's like you're not solving the problem. You're just doing something to not think about it for an hour. Because that's what's nice about working out is you kind of forget about your problems for an hour. But that's all it's really doing. It's forgetting about the problems.
Like really ruminate on our problems. I feel like at the gym is when we're like, let's break down our whole life.
Well, that is our issue. We work out together, so we are talking the whole time.
We work out together. We literally do everything, all of the days, every part of the day together.
Yeah, pretty much.
But the only reason I think working out could offer some, I would say, not the problem solver, because I don't think there's like a one size fits all, and I don't think there's a one solution, but an aid in helping it is I think it offers just like the chemical change that happens in your body and the positivity that happens. I think that maybe could just set you up to think more clearly yeah. And maybe with a little bit more of a lighter approach. I think you're also doing something that's positive for your self-confidence, self-esteem, your physical body, that it might allow you to say like, oh, I am capable. So maybe I'm capable to deal with this problem. Maybe I'm feeling good about myself. So I'm going to make decisions that better my life, better my whatever the problem is. That's like, yeah, those problems are not going to go away. It's like if you have a real problem, if you're, stressed about money, it's like working out is probably not going to make your money situation be better, but it might allow your brain and your body to handle the problem of money with a more enlightened, enlightened approach.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of where I was thinking for my own example with the vehicle thing was trying to break it down of what is making this an issue all the time. Like, do you have a fear of it? Is there, like, you feel like you, I don't know, deserve something better, or you want to, like, having a nice vehicle is important to you or not important to you, or you don't want to fix it anymore? Like, what even is the issue going on? And I think that's where it was interesting point right now where it's like there is no issue. So why is this stressing you out? Because like this is clearly a stress. You're thinking about it all the time. You're trying to find solutions all the time. When things slow down or get boring, this is always what you go back to. So not only why, and I think I was able to figure out why, but how do you get rid of that as a stress now? I think understanding what it is and why helps get rid of that stress. But I think also being able to identify it of like, oh, this whole managing stress thing that everybody talks about, this is what it is. Like, I've identified a stressor in my life. Now I need to come up with a solution to get rid of it. And with this example, it's like, well, there's no real issue. You're just like, have this weird mind manipulation thinking that this needs to be solved. Like, this isn't a problem that needs to be solved. There's no problem. So you're trying to find a solution to not a problem. So it's like, oh, well, I don't need to be stressed about this anymore because there's literally no issue here. It's kind of the thing with the money thing too. It's like you're stressing over money or something. Well, it's like, what if you sat down and did a budget and saw that you're saving $2,000 a month? It's like you have data and you know that there's no reason to be stressed about money. So now you can get that stress to go away.
That's where I think it helps me manage my stress, my individual. What tends to come up for me is going back to the, I don't want to say the facts, but like
the facts.
Going back to the knowledge that I know of that situation. Like, if say my skin is breaking out, or I'm noticing that my skin, I just don't like how it's looking, which is, I know, maybe seems very stupid and petty, but that would be a stressor for me. Like, I would think about it a lot during the day. I would look at myself in the mirror and get up close and analyze and feel bad about myself. It's like, okay, well, where can I offer myself some sort of control, some sort of action? It's like, okay, well, what's my knowledge on this? Like, I can't just like stress and make my face get better. I don't want to just like put a bunch of shit on my face and just like hope something works. I'm not going to spend a bunch of money on a bunch of random stuff that maybe won't work. But going back to my knowledge of it, it's like, okay, well, what have I been eating lately? Can I clean that up a little bit? How have I been hydrating myself? Can I clean that up a little bit? Can I wash my pillow, like the pillow case? Can I do actionable things based off of the knowledge that I know? Am I drinking too much? Like whatever it is, because that's probably worked in the past for the reasons that's my education on it. But I think that gives me an easy action that's not going to be a full-on course correct. So I'm trying to find actionable things based off of the knowledge that I know that is not going to be a complete, I need to do something then. Because sometimes there's nothing to do, but you can always refer back to, or I can always refer back to my knowledge on it, I guess.
And I think if you're able to check most of those boxes off, I think that's where asking yourself, like, does this need to be a stress? Because sometimes we're just stressing about things that just don't need it. And actually that is the reason why you're breaking out, is you're stressed about it.
Yeah.
That's the reason why you're bloating, is because you're stressed about it. It's like,
yes,
you're only eating whole natural foods. You're only like, you're somebody who's trying to lose weight and you're eating whole natural foods. You're exercising 60 minutes a day. Like, you're doing everything, 8 hours of sleep. You're doing everything by the book and nothing is changing. You're doing all of this researching and knowledge and trying to figure it out, and you're just constantly obsessing over it. It's like, the reason nothing's happening is probably because you're so stressed about it.
Yeah. Well, it's like they see that all the time with like women getting pregnant. Like, as soon as they give up on it or stop caring, that's when they get pregnant.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like your body is telling you this isn't safe.
Exactly. And I think that's true for almost any of the things. Like, if you're so obsessed with it, I'm obsessed with these vehicles. If you're obsessed about it, that is a key, it's a flag to show you this is probably something that's stressing you out. And the reason it's a problem is probably because you're stressed about it.
Yeah.
So you got to find a way to not be stressed about it. And I think asking yourself the question of, do I need to stress about this? Like, it's all relatively speaking, but your acne on your face, that doesn't matter. In the big picture, it doesn't matter.
Sure.
So, or maybe the last solution to that is, well, maybe I'm stressed, so I need to stop stressing about it. Like, I need to not look in the mirror for a week, or whatever it is.
That's maybe my next approach would be like, just avoid.
Yeah.
And not just that in like I'm avoiding my problems, but like I'm avoiding making it a reoccurring thought.
Well, you're
like, I'm going to change the narrative for myself.
Yeah.
I am going to wear makeup every day then. Just because that makes me feel good. I'm going to not look in the mirror every day. I'm going to wear an outfit that makes me look awesome so that I just don't look at this. It's like I can focus on the other good parts.
You're still consciously making choices to try to get rid of the stress.
Yeah.
Even though it's showing up as avoiding.
Yeah.
But it's not really avoiding, because you're doing something about it.
I'm altering my thoughts about it.
Well, it's like you brought up in this conversation that we had earlier of like, the people who get sick and then they sulk in being sick, they actually feel more sick. To where the other person could have the same thing and they're just like, no, I'm fine. Not a big deal. And they don't feel as sick.
Yeah.
And that's where like the pain tolerance thing comes in too. So it's like, you could have the same thing happen. Like, how many people tear their meniscus in basketball or tear their ACL in football? And it's like, I think those guys are so used to pain that they'll tear an ACL and they'll just be like, shit. It's like, then there's some people who tear an ACL and they are rolling on the floor, passing out, crying. It's like, it's kind of a little bit how you approach it.
Sure.
Like, am I sick or not? No. I'm good. Like, I have acne on my face. Okay, whatever. Like,
Yeah. Well, and going back to the, what, man, I forgot his name. Ooh, Dr. something. Shoot. I don't remember. But his whole, like, life's work, what he's like filtered his whole career around, has been trying to prove the science behind this, of you actually changing your thoughts, and then that changes the chemical reaction in your body. He's like, it will sound very woo woo and very like, this is not real. He's like, and that's why I wanted to scientifically prove it, because he's like, I have this background. I don't have the just believe in the good and the good will happen. She's like, but when you keep seeing it over and over again, he's like, I needed the actual studies to back up. Like, I needed the science on my side to be able to prove it to people. This is actually real. He's like, we would hold these conferences, and kind of, he basically has like his own version of doing this. Like, he's kind of calls it like a meditation, but it's more of like a protocol, like how you deal with it. And he's like, we will literally have people that will have sicknesses when they come in, and then they will leave and they will not have that. Or we will have people that are in a wheelchair that they can't walk, and by the end of the week, like, they will be actually walking. Like, they will recover in their physical abilities. And it's then like, we do blood panels on them, we do all these, run these tests, and it's like their physical anatomy has actually changed. And it's because the power of your thought, which I know that sounds weird, but like, the way that you think, that is still a chemical reaction that is sent into your body that does alter your cells. So it's like, so it's the same thing with stress. Like, why does stress make your hair go gray? It's like, that is a thought, that is a feeling, that is a chemical response that is allowing your hair to physically change. It's like, so we can understand that, and that makes sense. That's the same thing with everything else in our body. That he brought up a interesting thought of also, like, to get like healing trauma, but this also kind of correlates to this. Of, I don't remember how he said it. It was basically like, your emotions are a record of your memories, or your memories are a record of your emotions, to where if you just keep playing that record over and over again with the same narrative, with the same emotions attached to it, your emotions are never going to change. So you're never going to heal from that. You're never going to feel any difference. You're like, why can't I just get over that? Like, I can't let it go. It's like, because you keep replaying it in the same way. He's like, try making up the story and make it different. Make it, you ended in a good relationship. Make it, he didn't cheat on you. Make it so that you didn't have a fight. Make it so that your parent didn't yell at you. Like, completely lie to yourself and change the story, because then your chemical response will allow your emotions to actually see it in a different way, and then your record will be changed. So I take it with this, with the stress, like, allow yourself to rewrite your own story in that moment. My face looks awesome. Or like, I don't care about losing weight, or I like, yeah, whatever. And it's like, as long as I think you're maybe also holding in the same line of, can I actually be doing something different? Like, am I actually eating like an asshole, and that's why I'm overweight? Am I not listening to my kids and taking responsibility, and that's why I'm or being not the best parent that I could be? It's like you said, if you're doing those things, but for some reason you're just nitpicking and you're stressing about it, it's like, can you rewrite your own narrative?
Well, and I think even with like the fitness example of that, of like, a lot of people just need to get over the stress of not being able to lose the weight to start doing something. Yeah. Like, the stress is so overwhelming that they don't want to try to eat better. They don't want to try to exercise. They don't want to do anything. And they have to get rid of that stress, or a lot of times, like, they'll just get to a breaking point where it's just like, kind of that attitude of like, you know what, fuck this. Like, I can't do this anymore. I don't give a shit anymore. And I don't think you have to get to that point. I think you can, like, I think that's where this whole stress conversation seems like such a mystery. Is it's like, we have such a bad time, or we have such a hard time identifying it. We're not good at going like, this is the stress in my life right here, and this, and this. I think if you're able to, watch yourself again, like being able to step outside of yourself and like see what are the things that you're thinking about all the time. And you'll find these patterns of kind of the same things. It's like, these are probably the things you're stressing about, even if they're not necessarily bad thoughts or horrible thoughts, but you're always thinking about it. Or it's it's like you were saying, the red car syndrome. Every time somebody says something about it, or you see something about it, and that's where your brain goes. You know how many people will look at a poster and be like, oh, she looks gross. And it's like, okay, why is that your response?
Yeah.
Like, why did you choose that? But then somebody else will go like, oh, I really like the colors on that poster.
Right.
It's like, you two just said two completely different things. And that is such an insight into like what's going on with you.
Yep.
That being able to kind of watch yourself react to things and see things, that shows you what the stress in life is. Like, I don't have social anxiety, but I fucking hate being out and about. Clearly. I will, the whole asshole or not topic is just all about people. It's like, I don't like it at all. And it's like, well, that's a stress in your life.
Yeah.
I don't like talking to other people. But does that, like, being able to step outside and see that and then go, okay, I've identified a stressor. Now what can you do about it? Well, is this something I need to be stressed about? No, I've never been attacked. Like, there's
attacked with conversation?
Well, that's a different one. Yeah, but like, there's no real reason to be stressed about it. It's just you don't like it. And it's like, okay, well, you don't like it? That's kind of childish.
Sure.
It's like, you're an adult. Grow up. People talk to each other that don't know each other. It's also like so much better for society that we're talking to each other. So now you're not talking to people.
Changing the narrative.
And avoiding people. Yeah. You're avoiding people because you don't want to talk to them. Well, that's worse for the society. So now if you can switch it and go like, it's better for society that we are communicative and talk, and like we're passing by somebody and just saying hi or making eye contact. Now you have a totally different perspective on talking to people in public.
Yeah.
And that's so much better than your weird bullshit, let's avoid everything. Because what else is that all affecting? Like, now you won't go outside for anything or do anything. Like, your social skills are diminishing because you're not talking to people. Well, how does that help in jobs or communication in a relationship or communication with family or communication in general? It's like, it's so much more than just you and affecting you and your thing. It starts to trickle out to everything else and trickle out in everything else in your life. And that's just this one stressor that you're constantly stressed about. It's like, what are you obsessing about? Identify that. Really talk to yourself and break it down of what's going on. And like, most of the answers to me is always just like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is clearly better than what I'm doing. So just start doing this. Like, you not talking to people and being like socially just like blockade is not good for you. It's not good for other people. It's not good for society. So stop doing that and be better at being social. And same with the car example. It's like, why is this a stressor? It's like, you're bored.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
Yeah.
There's no reason to be stressed about this. You're bored. Find something productive to do. Now, every time I think about the cars, I'm just like, oh yeah, you're bored. Like, find something productive.
Yeah. Well, and I think sometimes it's rewriting the narrative, rewriting the story, actually analyzing, do you need to be stressed about this? Or is this just something to ruminate on? Like, do you need to find more things to, like, keep your mind happy and busy and productive in a positive direction, because you're allowing yourself, like, you're allowing your mind to focus on these other things? Is it worthy of even stressing about it? Kind of like, I could stress about something that's not even present. It's like, is it even happening right now? Is it something like, if the worst thing happens in that, is it probably going to be fine? Okay, so you know the worst possible thing could happen, and you're like, can rationalize being okay with that. Okay, then let it go and actually just stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
which is difficult sometimes, but I think we see stress as like the obvious big ones to where I would say like, no, I'm not stressed. It's like, well, why do you have gray hair?
What I
At
think is
20.
like we don't spend
because
time.
those little things.
We don't spend time thinking about it or picking out the things that do stress us. We just
Right.
keep going on and on with our lives, which is understandable, but I think that's where it's just I don't know. It's one of those things that's just like it's always brought up of like, well, and to be healthier and you got to manage stress. It's like, okay, I can understand eat better. I can understand exercise. I can understand sleep more, manage stress. Like that is so, what is that?
Yeah.
It's like nobody knows how to do that. Everybody knows how to do the other three, but nobody knows how to do manage stress. And like the only answers that seem to come about is like meditate or go work out. And it's like, well, is working out really even doing it? And is meditating doing it?
Well, and it's also, again, it's
the problem without a solution, which is like our whole thing.
And I think a theme that keeps recurring just for life, just over and over, what keeps coming up as I age is like, we are getting far away, or maybe like, no, I think we get far away because I think kids kind of have an idea of this. Like we stop having a relationship with ourselves. And I don't mean to sound that like, so like love yourself and just, but it's like, we are kind of always changing, and that might not always be in good ways, but we're changing, we're experiencing new things, we're meeting new people, we're adjusting our lives. It's like we're not then like updating our software of like continuing that relationship, continuing to learn, continuing to like, what do I think about that? Why do I have that be a stress? Is that something that I even need to be stressing about anymore? Or is that just like a story that I keep playing in my head of that's something that I do or think about or stress about? It's like, okay, like you said, like the meditating. It's like, I know for my own personal self, I can almost switch my mood completely around by like listening to music. Now, some people would say, well, that's not, you know, you got to be quiet or you got to just sit and breathe and whatever. It's like meditating is just anything that brings you a little bit in more of an enlightened space. It's like, for me, that's music and I can do it pretty darn quick. It's like, for you, that could aggravate you. But it's like, I know for me, that is my version because I'm continuing that relationship with myself. Also learning, oh yeah, I don't have a lot of the major stressors of relationship, money, career, life, like adult stuff. But it's like, but I do look at myself in the mirror every day and go, don't like that, don't like that, don't like that. Oh, I'm going to think about that all day. It's like, those are still little stressors that I am going to be having on my ride of the day. It's like, that's still eating me away.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I need to check in with myself again, like continue that relationship, have a conversation of like, are you getting better at that? Do you need to focus on this? What are your stressors? Because then we can maybe think about that and also not stress about having the stressors. But
well, and that's what's such a problem with it is like we do such a good job of like perpetuating those stresses by stressing about it more. So it's like a little bit of acne pops up because whatever freaking reason, who knows? It could have been something that you ate a couple days ago, or a week of not eating great, or who knows? Like it could be anything.
It could be my hair was in my face for a little bit longer that day, and it just my hair's oily.
But then it's that you try to do things about it, and it doesn't work, and that just makes the whole stress even worse.
Yeah.
You know, again, going back to the weight loss issue, so it's like, you start to do stuff about it and then it doesn't work, and that just makes the stress even more because now it's like, I even tried to do something about it and it's not working. That I think you probably have to get rid of that stress about it first in order to have these things go about. Like you said, you need to analyze too, like, well, are you still eating like crap and trying to lose weight and you're wondering why? It's like, maybe that is something. Doing the things that you know to try to help. But a lot of the times it's not super complicated stuff. Like, it's not super complicated why you can't lose weight. You're just not doing what you need to do, and you're probably stressing way too much about it.
Yeah.
That do those things simultaneously. Do what you need to do and try to alleviate the stress around what's happening. You with the whatever, the gray hair, the acne or whatever. It's like you're doing all the things, like you're eating well and you're using the right fucking creams or whatever, that you're doing all the things to assist it. It's probably just you're obsessed with it. Stop being so obsessed with it. Drop it. Like, the thing that's holding you back now is the stress. It's not your effort towards the thing. You're just too stressed about it.
Am I in the frame still?
Yeah.
That losing weight thing is, I feel like, a very clear, I think it's a good example, and I'm sure a lot of stressors are this same way, of the stress of not being able to lose weight. Like, your body registers stress. Like, it doesn't know that you're stressed because you want to lose weight, because you think you look bad, or because you don't feel healthy, or because of you can't move around as easy. Like, your body is registering it the same way that they did back in the day of, I don't know if I'm going to eat. I don't know if I'm able to find food. So we need to hold on to this because this fat is keeping us safe. So it's like our body registers it in the same way. So just by you stressing about it, it's not like you can tell your body, well, I want to be stressed about it in this way, so it makes this outcome. But then over here, I'm going to have the same chemical reaction, but it's for a different reason. And you respond differently and know accordingly. It's like same thing with the getting pregnant. Your body doesn't know, well, but I really want to, and that's why I want to get pregnant. Your body is seeing you're dealing with something out there, so it's stressful.
Sort of panic.
So you can't handle being pregnant because the baby's not going to live.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's the same way with the acne. It's like, I'm stressing about it. Well, what causes acne? Hormonal releases. It's like, well, what causes sometimes a hormone release? Stress.
Yeah.
It's like your body doesn't know the difference.
Well, and this is a lot of the times why trainers, or the advice for people is, don't focus so much on the scale or losing weight. Like, let's focus on other things. It's because it's trying to get your mind off of...
Yeah.
It's trying to get your mind off of the goal, because we're trying to alleviate the stress about the scale and the weight and all that kind of stuff, or how you look in the mirror. And we try to put it towards things that, like, don't stress you out kind of thing. Like, most people, when you're like, okay, we're going to try to put on muscle first, and we're going to do that. It's like, they don't go like, okay, we're putting on muscle first. Oh, here we go. Like, they're kind of like, oh, okay, that's different, or not what I've heard, or maybe I have heard that, and like, I don't really understand that, but okay. But it's alleviating the thoughts and the obsession of losing weight, or looking different. So, like you said, changing the narrative, or even just changing your focus, like trying to have something else to pay attention to or look at. And that's where I go with, like, make a list of productive things. Like, you're so focused on the acne or whatever, it's like all of that time that you're spending obsessing over that and trying to figure that out, put that towards something fulfilling and productive that's not trying to fix your acne situation. It's like, it could be, I don't know, whatever it could be. Reading more, listening to music more, because that makes you feel better. It's like just adjusting the focus. It doesn't mean stop doing healthy things for it, but don't have all of your obsession and attention towards this thing, because it's just causing more and more stress. It's like the person who has, public speaking anxiety, and then they get called out at a comedy show. It's like, this is why they don't do it. This is why they don't go do things. They don't want to be put on the spot. And now they're getting put in a position to be put on the spot. It's like,
take your focus off of this thing and put it somewhere else so that you're not perpetuating the same stress and same problem over and over and over again. Like, you're getting stressed about the stress at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I don't think the avoiding thing is that big of a deal or that bad so much. Like,
I don't think so either. I think it's bad when it's like,
if you're
like
not doing the actionable things, then it's bad.
Yeah, like the acne thing where it's like, I'm just gonna avoid it and not care, and then you're eating cheeseburgers every day and
Right.
not caring about your health and anything along those lines. It's like, well, you're not, like, the goal is still to help the situation and make it better.
Yeah.
So don't completely avoid it.
Yeah.
But or do things to negate that.
But I do think it's, again, like switching if you're doing those things, like maybe it's also doing things that are going to benefit that exact situation, but in the positive. Like, I would say, like, say with relationships, like, okay, we're doing the things to work on it, and it's like, but that's still not going to get fixed right away, so it still might be stressful. It's like, okay, well, can you change the narrative, and instead of continue to be focused on where it's bad and what causes stress, like, can you point out things in your partner that they are doing good or that you like? And then it's like kind of with what happened with me, like, you just start to forget about the bad stuff. You're like, oh, remember when I complained about that all the time? Oh, remember when I used to like not like that? It's like, I completely forgot. Because then you can just start like replaying that or rewriting the record of all the good things, and hopefully that will then just start to like either outweigh the bad, or you're like, yeah, okay, that doesn't seem that dramatic because look at all these other good things. Well, having cellulite doesn't feel as dramatic to me anymore because, like, yes, because I have like big muscular legs, and sometimes with that it comes with more fat, and sometimes it comes with cellulite.
Well, and I think that's where the question of like, is this something to be stressed over, is important, because like the relationship example, it's like, well, what if something real bad's happening and you're like, just don't think about that, like, think about good there. It's like, well, no, is this something to be stressed over? Okay, yeah, it is. Like, this is bad, shouldn't be what it is. Like, there kind of needs to be a little like fight or flight about this. But if it's like, he doesn't do the dishes and I don't like that, it's like, okay, we don't need to be stressed about this. Like, you're stressed and pissed every time you got to go do the dishes. Like, we gotta do something about that. Like, that's not something to be stressed about.
Yeah.
There's more important things out there. There's more important things to be stressed about, or there's more beneficial things that you could be thinking about and doing than to be
I think that's it.
Stressed about this. It's like, you could just have a fairly fine attitude about doing dishes, and then while you're doing dishes, you're thinking about positive things or productive things or whatever, and not how much you hate him.
I think that could be better or maybe more beneficial, because like that's all to the individual. Like, maybe to that person, like, that is the biggest stress in their life.
Right. Yeah, totally.
So it's like, well, don't find harder things to be more stressed. Like, don't find like, well, I wasn't stressed about this before, but this seems like something people would stress about, so I'm going to choose this instead, and then start stressing about it. Yeah. But yeah, like rewriting the narrative and allowing positivity, obviously, if it's a safe situation to be doing that in.
Yeah. Well, I think we solved stress. Congratulations. You did a great job.
I will say it is simple, but the breathing has been helping me, actually. Because I just noticed I hold a lot of tension. Why? Maybe it's just posturally, but maybe because I'm doing that, like maybe it is sending that same whatever that I've been noticing, like just breathing and just like taking a moment to like, let's chill for a second, has helped me like recenter then throughout the day. I'm not going to take 10 minutes and sit and lay there and listen to music or meditate, but I think those quick little check-ins are like, I'm feeling a little riled. Do I need to be? No, let it go, and then don't think about it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that breath sometimes does allow me to like recalibrate.
Well, I think that's where it's like, you know, you see the people doing 10 minutes of it or whatever, and it's like, I think for most people it's probably just
just try to like consciously take one big breath a day.
Yeah.
Like just to kind of focus. Like we're so it's kind of crazy how unconscious we are all day long.
Yeah.
That one breath, even if it's like I set a timer on my phone at noon or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, a time that's not going to disrupt other things, and that goes off and it just says breath or something, and you're like, oh, you just take one big breath. It's like I think in those moments you realize how unconscious you have been up until that point, and it's kind of freaky because you're like, man, I've like not been paying attention to the day
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
And I think it's helpful. I think it's even like it's even just kind of neat to be like, damn, I haven't been paying attention to anything all day. Like it's like when you're driving and you all of a sudden just like come out, you're like, holy shit, I have not been conscious for like 3 minutes.
Yes, I do get that. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe.
And it's not like you're looking at your phone or anything. Like,
yeah.
that happens so much on road trips.
So do you feel like, are you just like, I would call that like you're daydreaming.
Yeah, probably.
I'm in a daydream like 70% of the day.
Well, and I think that's like we're thinking about the past or the future. Like we're it's mostly just not being present, I guess.
Yeah.
Like it's the daydreaming, the I don't know, creating stories, the thinking about the future, thinking about issues or solution, whatever it is. Like you're just thinking so much all day long that the breath just kind of goes like, oh, like I'm just here right now,
Yeah.
and I haven't been all day long.
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
See you later.